The Vikings were known as fearless. They crossed oceans, stormed kingdoms, and worshipped gods of war and death. But there was one thing that could make even the fiercest Norse warrior hesitate: the sight of a red-haired woman. Why? Because to them, red hair wasn't just rare, it was supernatural. A sign of the gods. Or worse, the end. This is the forgotten story of fear, fire, and the women who shaped the Viking psyche. This is why the Vikings were terrified of red-haired women. To understand Viking fear, we must first understand Viking faith. The Norse believed in word, a concept of fate more rigid than destiny. You didn't choose your path. You were born into it, and you died by it. The Norse cosmos was deeply symbolic. Yggdrasil, the world tree, bound the 9 realms together from Asgard, the home of the gods, to Midgard, the world of humans, and Helheim, the realm of the dead. Everything was connected. Everything had meaning. Vikings read omens in everything: the flight of ravens, the color of the sky, even the birthmarks on a child. A wolf howling before dawn might mean betrayal. A shattered drinking horn, impending loss. Hair color, too, was interpreted as a sign. Blonde was common, brown, earthy, and steady. But red was wild. Red was fire. Red didn't belong ... in a culture obsessed with destiny and the supernatural. Encountering a red-haired woman was not a coincidence. It was a moment heavy with implication. She might bring prophecy or death. The Volva was no ordinary woman. She was a seeress, a keeper of arcane knowledge. When she entered a village, she was treated with reverence and fear. Cloaked in blue, staff in hand, she spoke with the voice of the Norns, the goddesses of fate. She read the runes, dreamed the future, and channeled the divine. Descriptions of Volvas in the sagas often mention peculiar physical traits. Many are said to have hair like fire, wild and untamed. This wasn't random. It was symbolic. Fire was the element of transformation, of creation and destruction. To be fire-haired was to be liminal, a bridge between the living and the divine. To the Viking mind, a red-haired Volva could doom a voyage, curse a chieftain, or foretell a war. And unlike most women, she had power, terrifying power. People whispered that red-haired seeresses weren't born of mortal blood, that they were daughters of giants or servants of hell, goddess of the underworld. Their hair was not their most striking feature. It was their gaze, unblinking, piercing, ancient. Ragnarok wasn't just a myth. It was a certainty. The final battle, the death of the gods. And it would come in flame. The Voluspa, the great prophetic poem of the Poetic Edda, describes a woman shrouded in blood, her hair like a torch, who appears before the sky breaks open. Some scholars argue she is a personification of chaos. Others believe she represents Surtur's bride, Surtur, being the fire giant destined to destroy the world. Whether real or symbolic, the red-haired woman in this myth became archetype. She signaled cataclysm. To Vikings, who saw fire as a sacred and dangerous force. The idea that a red-haired woman could embody the end times was not metaphor, it was warning. Her coming meant fate had turned, and no sword could stop it. Not all red-haired women told the future. Some wrote it in blood. Shield maidens were real, buried with weapons, found in warrior graves across Scandinavia. Some sagas name them Lagertha, who fought with Ragnar. Freydis, sister of Leif Erikson, who allegedly slaughtered enemies with a sword in one hand and her bare breast exposed. A red-haired shield maiden was war incarnate. Her rage was righteous. Her death? Glorious ... In Norse color symbology. Red meant more than violence. It meant vitality, passion, and divine wrath. Seeing a red-haired warrior charging toward you was like seeing the storm given form. There are records from Christian missionaries who feared these women more than the men. Their unpredictability, their authority, their unwillingness to be owned or silenced, and among their own people, they were admired, but also feared. Because to fight beside a red-haired shield maiden was to gamble with fate itself. Why does red hair provoke such reaction? It begins with rarity. Only 1-2 of the world's population has natural red hair. In Scandinavia, the percentage was even lower. In the medieval world, rarity meant suspicion, and suspicion, in a superstitious age, meant persecution. As Christianity spread, Old Norse fears were reshaped. The vulva became the witch. The rune reader became the heretic. Red-haired women were accused of sexual deviance, sorcery, and devil worship. In some towns, red hair was listed as an official mark of a witch. During the Inquisition, women with red locks were dragged from their homes and put to trial. Medical treatises from the time theorized that red hair was a sign of an imbalanced temperament, too much heat, too much blood. They were labeled hot-headed, lustful, or mad. So, what began as Norse myth transformed into widespread misogyny. And the red-haired woman's fate? Fire. Today, the red-haired woman no longer haunts Viking dreams, she haunts pop culture. From Lady Macbeth to Jessica Rabbit, from Melisandre in Game of Thrones to Merida in Brave, red-haired women are cast as seductresses, rebels, or witches. The archetype remains beautiful, dangerous, untamable. Psychologists call this the Scarlet Woman trope, a figure both desired and feared. And her roots stretch back to the fjords. Vikings may have feared her, but the modern world romanticized her. Yet the core idea remains the same. She is powerful. She cannot be controlled. And she always leaves a mark. To the Vikings, a red-haired woman was more than flesh and bone. She was omen. She was prophecy. She was fire made flesh. They feared her not because she was weak, but because she held power they could not understand. And though centuries have passed, her image still lingers. In stories, in sagas, in cinema, because fire never dies. It only changes shape.